Let me tell you a little bit about this guy, Jacob, if you don't know about him. His dad was Isaac, and his grandpa was Abraham. Probably heard of those guys, right? We were in Genesis 22 last week looking at Abraham and Isaac. So he's the grandson, Abraham, son of Isaac, and he had a twin brother named Esau, Jacob and Esau. I've heard of that probably. Jacob's a swindler, man. So Jacob was the younger of the twin brothers. He didn't come out first, Esau did. But when Jacob and Esau were born, Esau comes out, and Jacob comes out right after him, and he's grabbing his brother's heel. And this is what the text says. He's grabbing his heel, and so they're like pulling Esau out, and Jacob's like, no way, man, I'm coming too. So they even named him Jacob because that word means he who takes by the heel or he who cheats. It means someone kind of like a swindler. Jacob's name basically means cheater. And so one who takes by the heel or one who cheats, that's the Hebrew word Jacob. That's what it means. And so he was named that because he comes out of the womb holding on, right? So his brother Esau is the firstborn. He's a manly man. It says that he came out and his skin was red and he had a lot of hair. I don't know. I guess that means he's like manly man. He had a lot of hair. I don't really look like a manly man. I don't have much hair. I wish I could grow a beard. I can't. So I'm kind of more like Jacob with that. I really wish I could grow a beard. If you know me, you know I wish that. But, this is my lot in life. Jacob he's a guy who stayed at home all the time. It says he was smooth-skinned and he was a mama's boy. Okay? He stayed at home. His mom loved him. He didn't get out. It said, when it's describing the two brothers, it says Esau was a hunter and his dad liked him because he ate the game that he brought back. And then it says, and Jacob was a dweller in tents. It's like, oh. So just get this perspective. Jacob doesn't have any hair. He's not very manly and he stays home all the time playing video games. And his brother's actually out there. Jacob's playing hunting video games. Esau's out there hunting. He's hairy and he's red-skinned. So this is kind of what's going on. Esau's the older brother. His dad likes him. He's got the birthright, which means that he was the heir of the family. He was the firstborn of the family. He's the one that's going to get all of the inheritance when his dad dies. He's the one that's going to carry on the family name, right? And then you've got Jacob sitting inside, playing Xbox, hanging out with his mom. No hair. Then at one point in their life, Esau's out hunting. He comes back. He's really tired. Jacob, I guess, likes to cook. He's making some stew. And he basically swindles Esau into giving him his birthright for a cup of soup. So you go, man, Esau's stupid. Yep, you're right. He is. And the scripture says that he had no regard for the birthright. And this was a big deal. This is like everything your parents own, the family line, the family name is yours because you're the firstborn son. But I don't know, that's beef stew looks pretty good. I'll just have that. And then he gave his birthright to his younger brother. So you already see Jacob's like the one who's a swindler. He's a cheater. He's like, I'll see what I can do. And Esau he's flying with the geese, I guess, because he just gives it to his brother. So Esau gets pretty ticked off at that point. Then later in his life, when his father Isaac is about to die, it was custom that Isaac or the father would pronounce a blessing on the heir, on the firstborn of the family. Even if he didn't have the birthright anymore, he would pronounce a blessing. And this was a big deal. So Jacob knows his dad's about to die, and his mom kind of helps him, and they figure out something. And when Esau goes out to hunt, Jacob puts some stuff that feels like hair, like some animal fur and stuff on his arms, and Isaac's blind almost. And so sitting there about to die, Jacob comes in, pretends to be Esau, and gets Isaac to bless him. So Jacob got the birthright from his brother because he wasn't the firstborn. And then also, he tricked his dad into pronouncing the blessing on him and like giving him everything. And then Esau comes back and says, all right, Father, you're about to die. I would like for you to bless me now. And he goes, wait, what? I already did, right? And he's like, Jacob, I knew it was Jacob. So the text says that then Esau was really ticked off. That's pretty much literal Hebrew. He was really ticked off at Jacob and wanted to kill him. So Jacob flees. Jacob leaves. His mom's like, you got to go to this other place where my brother lives. Go there and be with him. So Jacob's like, yeah, I don't want to get killed. Dad's boy, big man. I have no hair. I sit inside. I could beat him in video games, but not in a real physical match. So Jacob flees. And then he goes to this place where his uncle Laban is. And then he sees this girl named Rachel. And the Hebrew, I'm not exaggerating, the Hebrew literally says she had a great figure and a pretty face. So Rachel was a hottie, and as soon as Jacob saw Rachel, he was smitten. And he decided, I've got to have her. So he goes to Laban, her dad, which was his uncle. This is weird, I know. The Bible's not condoning this. It's like, what, your cousin? Yes, your cousin. So he goes to Laban, his uncle, and says, I want to marry your daughter Rachel. She's a hottie. And he says, okay, work for me for 7 years. He's like, Jacob's not very smart either, because he's like, okay. Which was an incredibly high bride price, even back in kind of ancient times when it was custom to give some cows or land or something to the father for a bride price. He's like, work for me 7 years, and yeah, you can marry Rachel. And Jacob's like, yay. So he worked 7 years, and the scripture says he was so smitten by Rachel that it was like it was a day. It was like no time at all, but 7 years he works. The time comes, he comes to Laban and says, give me what's mine. I worked 7 years. I want to marry your daughter. And so this wedding type thing happens. I think Jacob was probably drunk because it was dark, and it says that Laban sent into his tent his other daughter, Leah, who had a lazy eye. That's the literal Hebrew as well. It says she has weak eyes. So she either has a lazy eye or she's cross-eyed, and it says that she wasn't pretty. It just contrasts. It's like either she was blind or had a lazy eye, and then Rachel was a hottie with a great figure. And so Laban's like, I'm not going to marry off Leah. So he's going to come into the tent. He wants his wife to come in, and they'll consummate the marriage. He sends in Leah instead. The next morning, it becomes light, and Jacob realizes, what the heck, bro? This is Leah. This is not Rachel. So Laban goes, okay, work another 7 years for me. Then you can marry Rachel. And Jacob, once again, obviously smitten, all right, I'll do it. So he works another 7 years. Then he gets to marry Rachel. But now he's kind of in it, not in a good way. I mean, he's got 2 wives, and they're sisters. This is like Mormonism before it really happened. They're sister wives right there with Jacob, and obviously he loved Rachel and didn't really love Leah. He just loathed her, but those were both of his wives. It goes on, they have 11 kids, and he's got a great job. He's a shepherd, and he's got all of this stuff. He owns all of this stuff and got a ton of money. It says that at one point he's got 2 camps, meaning like 2 huge groups of people that are like under him, and he's over them in authority. So he's got all of these things. He's been living all of his life getting these blessings, either through lying or just working super hard or swindling someone. 2 wives, birthright, father's blessing, 11 kids, 2 camps, tons of money, great job. And then where we come to in Genesis 32 is when his brother Esau is coming at him with 400 men. And Jacob knows the last time he really heard from Esau, Esau said, I'm going to kill my brother. And so he knows that Esau's coming with a big bad army, and Jacob's like, I'm going to be killed. And so this is where we're at in the story, that Jacob is freaking out. And he knows that his brother's coming and is either going to kill him or take away everything that he owns, everything that he has achieved. He's going to take it from him. So then we get to the beginning of this text, and now you've kind of got some understanding of what's going on. The same night, this is a night that after Jacob had prayed, that's why it's saying the same night, he, that's Jacob, arose and took his 2 wives, 2 female servants, his 11 children, crossed the ford of the Jabbok, whatever you want to say, name it yourself. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had, and Jacob was left alone. See, Jacob had lived his entire life through hard work and through lying and swindling and cheating, living up to his name, lived his whole life trying to get all of these blessings for himself. But now, on the brink of destruction, when his brother is either going to kill him or take away everything, Jacob is sitting down and he's alone. He sent everyone away. He's thinking and he's praying. And right before this text, we see that he starts praying to God, God, deliver me from my brother. Save me from this. I know that he's going to bring justice down on me. Save me from my brother. He starts to freak out, and he's alone, and he's praying, and I think Jacob is realizing this. Every blessing that he had tried to achieve and accumulate for himself through hard work or through lying, every blessing could be taken away tomorrow. Everything that he identified himself with, everything that defined him, the birthright, if he dies, it's of no value. The blessing from his father, if he dies, it's of no value. His children, his wives, all of his money, his great job, his social status. Jacob's realizing, and he's left alone, and he's sitting there alone realizing everything that I've been calling a blessing and wanting as a blessing has its foundation on sinking sand. It could be gone. And it's very sobering, and that's why you sit down, you see him sitting down, he's alone, and just before that he'd been praying, God, deliver me, you're my only hope. And if you really read the story, up to this point, Jacob doesn't really care about God. It's just kind of like a byproduct, like he calls him, you're the father, you're the God of my father and the God of Abraham. But he never even calls him by his personal name, which was Lord, which was Yahweh. When you read Lord in the Old Testament, and it's all capitals, that's the personal name for God, Yahweh. And he never really called him that until this prayer right before this. And he says, Lord. He's calling him like, I recognizing you are God, deliver me. Everything that I've wanted, I've achieved, but it's all going to be taken away. There's this guy named Leo Tolstoy. I've never read any of his books. I'm not trying to say that I'm super well read, and I've read this 19th century Russian fiction novelist. No, but you guys are probably familiar with him, right? Heard of the movie or the book, Anna Karenina, different stuff like that. Leo Tolstoy is the guy who wrote those plays and those books. They've said that Leo Tolstoy is probably the best fictional novel. He's the best novelist maybe that's ever lived. That's what they're saying about Tolstoy. So he's this Russian dude. They say Leo because his first name's way too hard to actually pronounce. But he was an atheist, so he wasn't a Christian. And he said this at one point in his life. I want to read to you what he said, and this helps us just kind of see how this fleshes itself out in our modern times. So we look at Jacob, he's left alone, freaking out, but check out what Tolstoy says. He says something that we all need to think about, and he's very honest. He says this, my question, that which at the age of 50 brought me to the verge of suicide, was the simplest of questions lying in the soul of every man. A question without an answer to which one cannot live. It was this: what will come of what I am doing today or tomorrow? What will come of my whole life? Why should I live? Why wish for anything or do anything? It can also be expressed thus: is there meaning in my life that the inevitable death awaiting me does not destroy? Tolstoy's being honest because he was widely acclaimed, huge author. Everyone looked to this guy as like, man, this guy's got it together. But he was honest when he came to the age of 50, and he said, I started really thinking about this, and this brought me to the verge of suicide because he didn't have an answer. What am I doing today or tomorrow that my inevitable death does not wipe out and destroy? What meaning is there truly in my life? Why should I wish for anything? Why should I try for anything if it could all be taken away from me, or I could just die and it's done? See, Jacob in Genesis 32 and Tolstoy, a little over 100 years ago, they were kind of on the same page. Tolstoy realized what Jacob did. All the blessings in life have their foundations on sinking sand. They're going down. They could be taken away today. You could die today. Everything that you've tried to achieve, every blessing that you've tried to get for yourself, either through your death or through some crazy suffering or whatever, it could be taken away today. And they started realizing these things, and it really brought them to the end of their rope. It's very sobering to think about, what am I doing day to day? What meaning is there in my life that my inevitable death will not destroy? You see, we're like Jacob and we're like Tolstoy. we're seeking to get blessings and accumulate blessings, and we wish for these blessings, and I wish I could get this or get that, or finally have kids, or have a good job, or have a good reputation, or just get myself back on track and be a good person and kill this certain sin or whatever. And we do that, but the foundations of all of those things is sinking sand. It's not solid. That's why I say these are sinking blessings we all want. And let's be honest, we all want them. We all have things in our life that, if I could just achieve that, or something you have achieved, and because I have achieved that, yes, I feel that gives me my identity. That defines me. That's who I am. But it can be taken away in an instant. The blessings we all want are sinking blessings. What we really need is a solid blessing.